And I think we are live. Uh, Hello, everyone, or no one, as the case may be. I don't know how many people might end up tuning into this, but I'd figured what the hell. Um, I'm in a bored mood today. I'm in an empty office on a holiday, so I figured I'd try getting my feet wet a little more in the streaming world. And what I wanted to start doing today is uh, re-interest myself into some map making that I need to do for my campaign, The Coming Dark. Chapter 2 specifically. Chapter 1 has already been published, available on Drive-Thru RPG, shameless plug there. But originally when I thought of the campaign, I thought about it in 3 parts. 2 and 3 right now, chapters 2 and 3 are kind of in my head, and I've rethought it a bit. I've learned a lot since then. This thing has been in production for 10 years. And you can see my extensive development. I've been 2016. I've been busy on it for a while. But I want to reinvigorate myself, if you will, get myself interested once again, and hopefully try to get this thing out. And needless to say, I've learned a lot in the last 10 years. This campaign was originally written for 4th edition. It originally was a play-by-post. Did not go well. Then I converted it to Pathfinder, then I converted it to 13th Age, then I converted it to 5th edition. I did a Kickstarter for Chapter 1, but now I want to get the Chapters 2 and 3 going. For now, besides all the ideas, I just have a bunch of maps. That's usually the way I know it's arguably odd, but that's usually the way I work. I have an idea, I create a map for it, and then I build the world around the map. And I might as well launch InDesign just to see my full mental process here. Part of it was at the end of chapter 2. Whoops, that's InDesign getting in the way, excuse me. At the end of chapter 2, the party goes to a crypt to retrieve an artifact. Now, in the original idea, this is a 2-story crypt, as you can see. The original idea had this crypt located on an island that is somewhat protected. And I didn't really elaborate much on getting to the island or finding the crypt or opening the crypt or any resistance you might have. In the original design, it was really only just a paragraph. And part of my problem was that one level of the crypt was meant to be open to the public, if you will, and the other was supposed to be hidden. And I had a hard time filling both levels. So I had the idea of simplifying it further and actually creating. I've started to get a feel for a lot of the open world environments, if you will. So I actually started to create an external map of the island where there is more visually documented and open-ended, where the players can strategically find a way inside the crypt. Once inside the crypt, there really isn't much a need to be all that hidden. So I can simplify the interior of the crypt and elaborate more on the exterior. That means that these maps that I originally created, which were designed to be underground, don't really apply, because it's more supposed to be a building at this point. So what I've decided to do instead is redo that building. which I intend to do from scratch, more or less. I'm not going to elaborate on this map. I'm terrible at external maps. I have a really hard time doing, as you know, some of my campaign maps that I've done in the past. They are not exactly, you know, Mike Schley quality maps, if you will. They've, I mean, they serve their purpose, but they're not very good. At least that's my opinion or my feeling. I know they serve their purpose, but that's just the way it is. I do have a bucket list item to hopefully get Mike Schley to someday make a map for one of my adventures. That's, you know, that's a goal in life, if you will. And, well, until then, I kind of have to fend for myself. So, to elaborate further, the second chapter was meant to be in another part of the continent that originally did not have maps. By the way, this is the first time I think anybody sees this. So I decided to make chapter 2 more open-ended, more not on rails. There are some aspects that are unavoidably on rails. I still have a keep. I still have an estate. Where's the keep? There's the keep. One of my more favorite maps. And in typical D&D fashion, every architect ever designs their structures to conveniently fit on the 8.5 by 11 aspect ratio. So there is a keep in the mountains, which, I mean, you can go directly. This is the goal, and you can go directly there without skipping everything. That's your call, if as adventurers, if you're lucky to do that. And also, now I bring up InDesign. I write everything in place. I know a lot of people say, well, you know, write it in Word, and later on, you know, it's easier for the editor. I don't do that. I write directly in InDesign, which I don't know, it just feels better. So my stuff looks great. This is also the wonderful Dread Kitchen. That's a long story. I'll get to that someday. But as you will see in here, there's a lot of to-dos. Some stuff is written, some stuff is not. A lot of blank pages. This chapter, this Act 3 as I call it, is the one that I've recently had the inspiration to rewrite completely. And chapter 3 is very empty, as you could tell. So there is a lot of work to do. By the way, this adventure is 227 pages in the end. At least that's the goal. It has some of my most favorite stuff. That's what we're gonna redo. The Penis Academy, as some people like to call it. Again, as you can tell, I am terrible at creating outdoor maps, so this is a placeholder of a city that I have no idea what I'm going to do with. This is actually one of my better maps. As far as outdoor maps go, whoops, nope, that opened somewhere else. No, that's not an InDesign file, dummy. As far as outdoor city maps go, I'm actually, okay. It's probably one of my better attempts. Um, you know, it serves its purpose. But anyway, back to why we were here. Let's not worry about the aisle. This crypt of the 5. So, before I continue, as you will notice, I am using fireworks, which, whenever I mention that to anyone, specifically designers, they have very adverse reactions. Um, for those who are not familiar, fireworks is originally a Macromedia product. Macromedia got absorbed by Adobe. Fireworks was discontinued as of CS6. It is not available in the Creative Cloud. And the main reason I use it is, well, A, I've been using it for a long time. And I feel it lets me do things a lot more precise than Photoshop does. Um, it gives me more vector control. I know Photoshop has things like Photoshop and Illustrator specifically give you that level of vector control, but I don't know, this just feels better. And in addition, I do have all the Pro Fantasy Campaign Cartographer assets. Lots of assets. Specifically textures. Where's my terrain? Is it terrain? Yes, terrain. I have 3,600 textures for terrain. All this has been gathered from Pro Fantasy Campaign Cartographer, most of the add-ons, online, places like Dungini and other tools. I don't actively use CC3 just because I'm not a fan of the interface. It doesn't give me as much artistic control. And that's just, I guess, me being hard set in my ways, if you will. So, anyway, we're going to keep that nearby. So let's go ahead and, I'm going to need that later, but let's keep the island as a reference, because we want to build a building that is reasonably that shaped. And if you're wondering, that is actually buildings, which classic is actually, it's that building, right? Oops. Oh, bloody hell. Oh, no. There. I didn't know I could do that. It's basically that building, just desaturated. So we're going to use that as our point of reference. So first things first. Oh, there's all the save us stuff. That's a different conversation. These are all my works in progress. Let's go to... Will I need blank or will I need blank large? How big is blank large? I have these... Oh, that's way too big. Okay. Let's start with plain old blank. That's good. I might need to make it a little more. So first things first, I have a grid. I've been using the same grid for 10 years. You know, each grid, just for the record, it's 100 pixels per inch, 100 pixels per, nice round numbers. The math is easy. You'll see how that comes to effect later. Let's change some of the dimensions on this and give it more of a 8.5 by 11, so it's usually, say, 2,000 across, 3,000. Anchor it top left. And as you will see, now my lines need to be... See, and as you notice, I'm a math guy, so I will do things the old-fashioned way. I will actually type in numbers here to get the math right. And since it's nice round numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's all there is to it. And you can see here, your alignments are perfect. So that's our grid. Oops, where did that come from? All right, anyway. Lock that layer. So generally I have a the general floor, and then a scenery, which is where I put everything else. So for now, let's take our reference, which is that one, which will probably be, well, okay, well, I guess this is just to ballpark it. Okay, so dimensions wise, it's a little bigger, it's a little awkward. I don't need the full page, so let's try to keep it centered. So that's a good basis, give or take. I might have to change the building later or add to it or whatever, but at least this is a good start. So, put that all the way at the bottom. Lock it so I can't do anything with it. And it's time to, what I usually start with is, let's try to figure out the floor. No, okay, let's take a step back. What do we want in this thing? Let's open up our original crypt. Just that one. Hello. Fireworks is not the fastest tool in the world, you'll see that. But, whatever, that's a dead horse that's been beaten. Okay, so what do we need in the first floor? This room and kind of sort of this room. This room is a themed trap, which we will get to eventually. And this is the Lord and Lady of the original founders of the city, so it's kind of an important location. So this should be the forefront. I would guess that this should be around the dome area, or at least part of it. And then maybe next to it we should have the Lady, I think it's Gwyneth. Lady Gwyneth. Where is it? Lady Gwyneth, yes. Lady Gwyneth's Memorial. So we'll probably screw with the dimensions more because it doesn't leave a whole lot of room. So we'll have the one guy in the back. So let's start drawing shit. Let's start with just a basic gray. So I'm gonna say that's awfully big for the main one, isn't it? By the way, if anybody is watching, you're welcome to chime in on chat. I'll try to pay attention to that. So let's say that is reasonably sized. There's no encounter in there. There's a trap, but you know, it's not that critical. Anyway, so, and then we can have like in a side room here, that one, and let's try to keep symmetry. And then there would be a long entrance hallway. That's probably too narrow. This should probably be solid because that's the way crypts work, or at least mausoleums. You need a place to actually put caskets. So this area, let's darken that up a bit just for the record. Shit, wrong one. So let's say this area and this area. are slightly darker, so those will be solid. And we can make like if we put that there and put like something, let's say like that. See, now I'm just sticking around basically. So if we do something like that, and then have, whoops. See, right now I'm just doing very rough mock-ups of, and then we, let's make those paths, so that might work. And then this would be a hallway, so there would be an adjoining hallway to that. So, that's our basic map. We can screw with it some more later. So, let's take that down all the way to the edge. Actually, let's give it a foyer, or a little entrance area. Something stylish. We'll tweak that up later. Alright. Now, that was very half-assed, as you can tell. So now, time to get coordinates exact. And here's where fireworks comes in. So you're right here. I can direct placement all my boxes with exact numbers, like this is 400. Let's say that's 300. And, you know, basically everything direct place everything. Let's make that 1. And that's 1200. Nice round numbers, factors of 200. And you'll see what we do with it later. So 400, 1700, 800, 1100. Perfect. Everything lines up real nicely like this. Okay, so let's play with that. That's the intro area. Oh, and that one. And we just take them, edit, whoops, no, where is it? Modify? Yes. Combine, union, and boom. Now we got one polygon for everything. Let's tweak this up a bit. Give it some nice excuse me, stylized edges. Some nice non-square spaces to add some character in the entryway. Excuse me, just taking a swig of beer. Let's do the main rooms just so we can. Okay, round it up pretty well. That one rounded pretty well, and finally. Okay. Now I'm going to keep these separate because these actually are separate. This, however, there's a trick to this. We don't need as many polygons, actually. So let's simplify that. Make one polygon. That's, well, we'll tweak that a bit. So let's say that's 1600, 1200, 200, 1300. Okay. That doesn't seem right. Oh, because this is in the way. Okay. Well, time to show some tricks. So I'm gonna copy this room, paste it on top, and just modify, combine a punch. and boom. So it cuts out that area of the room. So let's do the same for this. Modify, combine, punch. And now this is all one solid area. So we take our hallways, copy that, paste that on top, and do the exact same thing. Modify, combine, punch. So now, excuse me, I gotta clear my throat. Well, okay. As you'll tell, the points where the polygons met does create some extra pixels. That's fine. But what you'll see now is that now we have just that, which is great. All right. So now let's do some walls. This is where it's kind of tedious. So let's pick a nice dark color. These are going to be actual solid walls, so we'll have to blend that in eventually. So we just, start drawing some walls. This wall has to go all the way down. We'll cut the doors in later. And just keep drawing walls. There's a wall there. Don't have to draw these walls because this will be blended in, and I'll get to that later. Actually, I think that's all I need. That's simple enough. Okay. So now, our walls are generally, I make them, if you're talking a 5-foot square is 100 pixels, 20 pixels, that's about 1 foot thick. So that's about right. That's how detailed I am in these sort of things. So everything is an offset by 20. And there's your wall position. Now we have to mathematically adjust them all. They're at a 10 offset. Whoops, no, actually that doesn't need to be, that could be one piece. So that's 20, 14, 20. Sometimes I just do it by hand, the old-fashioned way. And there you go. Now if I want to be particularly lazy, I just might as well do it here. Get rid of those, then take these. Whoops, that moved. Copy, paste, flip horizontally, and just move that over. Okay, and then now here, let's do that one, 820, 20. If it's a few pixels, yeah, I'll use the cursor. Get rid of that. And then copy the top one down. And that's it. So I have my walls. So now to join them all. Clear my throat again. You know, having a perpetual cough makes it really difficult to stream. Especially when you're talking to yourself. Which I pretty much am talking to myself. Well, no, I have one viewer. I don't know who you are, but hi. You really have no idea what you got yourself into, but there goes nothing. Alright, so we take all our walls, join them. Now, for walls, I particularly like to get rid of the, if you notice it, oops, that's the wrong one. I like to get rid of the extra pixels, of the extra anchor points that it builds after the union. I know there are probably better ways of doing that, but I am old-fashioned in that regard. That's actually an optimization. As the file gets bigger, as the file gets more complex, Fireworks tends to chug a bit. So I like to just give it less of a burden. Whoops. God damn it. I hate when I do that. Okay. So there's our simplified walls. Now if you recall, this is part of it as well. So I have to take all that, modify, combine, union. So now everything's a wall. Alright. So now let's give the wall a little character. For that, I actually have textures. Not that one. Oops, crap, missed. This is where my massive collection works. And the ones I find that actually work really nice for solid stone walls are mountain. So that actually doesn't look half bad. Because it's repeating, I like to rotate it a bit. So I need to add a little more to the wall. So first things first, let's give it a soft rounded with so it has a bit of an edge. You can zoom in on it. I'd like to give it a little bit of a grainy edge. Give it a little more character. And then there's a is it inner-glow? Yes, inner-glow. It's been a while since I actually do a map of this caliber, so bear with me. So the inner-glow is to give it that kind of look. So that it's darker as it approaches the edges. See, as you can tell, this is where fireworks starts to scream a bit. So, so it's darker on the edges. You can up these numbers really, depending on. It's usually that's usually a decent number. And then in addition to that, that's inner glow, so it darkens the inside. I like giving it a bit of an outer, either an outer glow or a shadow. In this case, let's do a shadow. They're meant to be walls, so let's give it a little more pronounced shadow. And there you go. So there's the walls. So this, some would argue whether you want this on top of the grid or not. So that really depends where you want to put it. I mean, there it is with the grid underneath, or you can put it there and the grid's on top. Let's leave grid on top. So that's that for now. Let's cut some doors into it now. Why the hell not? Okay, so where do we want doors? That brings up a good point. I didn't put a wall in the entrance. And this hallway, let's put a wall at the entrance. Or should we just make it doors? Nah, let's just make it a big set of honking doors. That's you need. You need 20 feet of doors at the entrance, or a gate. A gate might actually work. So let's hold off on that. So to cut in doors, I draw rectangles, seeing how big I want the doors to be. Let's put a door there, and a door there. Actually, I want these to be doors. I don't want these to be doors now that I think of it. I just want those to be open hallways because I'm going to have steps down, well, at least the one on the left. Because it's going to be stepped down to a little watery area, and we'll get to that. Yeah, screw it. I'm not going to have a door here either. So now we adjust the size of these. I only care about the width. I don't care about the height because I'm just going to use them as a cutting tool. This will be 180. That doesn't look right. Oh, because this bottom wall is... See, I have to adjust the bottom wall now. Because this takes 10 pixels in, and the bottom wall does not. So we can easily adjust that. There. And this one's also 180. Okay, so we have those. So we grab, combine those into one, and then use those to cut into the walls. And there you go. And let's get rid of the little dinky little pieces. It's tedious, I know, but hey, it helps. Really does. And there you go. Alright. So now we got a wall. Lock that into place. Let's put some floor in. I'm gonna keep the floor separate for now. So let's just texture this floor. Oops, that is not what I wanted to do. Okay, so I have to pick the texture. In these massive libraries, I do have some brick textures in here somewhere. Here we go. Is that too big? I don't like the color of that, really. It doesn't match the walls. Need something grayer. I'm sure I have it in here somewhere. Oh. That works a little better. Okay, let's go with that. That goes all the way outside. So, as far as this one, the side ones, let's use the same texture. The only difference is that I want to rotate them because you're going to step down into it and it just seems right. And then this one, let's use the same one as well. But let's just keep it separate. We might want to switch that one to something a little more ornate. Okay. So those go in the floor section. We can get rid of the reference image. So take all those, put them down on the floor, and now we can lock those as a group. While we're at it, this is not going to sit in a vacant space of nowhere, so let's give it a grassy background. That goes all the way to the bottom. I said all the way to the crap. All right, all the way to the bottom. And I do definitely have grass textures. I have more grass textures than any sane man would need. Like, there you go. And there's the background. Simple enough. That's a good start. Alright. So, let's do stairs. Let's do some stairs. Stairs is an interesting thing. Like, for instance, here. I want to have like a step down into stairs. So that involves doing a bunch of effects. So, actually, let's do the steps up. Like, we're gonna have some rectangular stuff. I'm pointing at the screen like an idiot. Of course, you can't see that. So let's have some steps leading up. So we're gonna make these just plain white for now, with a hard edge, soft line, not that thick. So the way I do steps is take a bunch of white rectangles, black edge, little drop shadow, little glow if need be, and additive, just add them as additive to the floor. So in this case, actually let's unlock those and lock them individually. Let's put this in the right place. Why is that not visible? Oh, because this is underneath it. Okay. So, what we do, we have this texture, so copy, paste, step up. Let's make that, and it's all done mathematically. In every step, take away 20. Let's do one more. Make it an even 500. So we got all those steps. Whoops, nope, did not want to do that. Let's lock that one as well. So we grab all these. Let's feather the edge more. Go to a little drop shadow. That drop shadow seems too big. That's better. Make it a little short of a drop shadow, but a little more pronounced. There you go. And that's that, so we group that. Now, the thing with creating it this way is that they are rectangles, so we have to actually create an alpha mask. So let's create that. Height 300. Whoops, nope, the wrong way. This cannot have an edge because then the mask won't work. So that's going to be our alpha mask. Modify mask, group as mask, and there you go. And now we multiply, and there we have steps. Simple enough. Let's do the same thing over here. But this time I'm going to have the steps start at here and then expand out. And then I'm going to keep I keep pointing at the screen. I know you can't see that. I gotta stop doing that. Anyway, let's lock that one. So we're going to create the same thing here. Always give it a little extra room. So 200, 200, 500. Ooh, that didn't have a thread. So let's give that an edge. Save ourselves some time. Okay. Now if you'll notice, it's being done in reverse order. Actually, that's a 10-step. Do I want a 10-step? Yes, I do want a 10-step. Okay. So let's just reorder these for now. Up, 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 and up. Okay. So now we can be mathy about it. Yeah, it is tedious work, you know. If you'll notice, I don't freehand draw. That's my distinction between a lot of other map makers. All my maps are basically, if you like to call them procedurally generated, that's arguable. So now we grab those. That edge is too big, so let's give it a little grain. Can hardly see that grain. Nope, that's too much grain. Okay. And then drop shadow. The drop shadow is a little more pronounced. That's the thing that you'll see the edges here, but you won't actually see the drop shadows. So in cases like that, what I'd like to do is give it a very tiny glow. And you'll see it looks weird because it's actually trying to glow the drop shadow, so I gotta change the order. And that is a little, that might be a little too pronounced. That's a little better. And nice thing, if I do that, then I may not need this thread at all. No, kind of still do. Well, it doesn't need to be, it's better. Okay. Let's go with that. And then again, I need to create an alpha mask for it. 250. Whoops. This cannot have an... Where's my cursor? There it is. It could not have an edge. Modify. Mask. Group as mask. Ooh. Okay. That's a problem. Okay. That mask is too big. It has to be only 200. There. Modify. Mask. Group as mask. And then multiply, and there are steps. Now, to go back to our issue with the floor, I'd like the tiles to be smooth instead of the hard cut, so we'll just adjust this, and there you go. Alright, so we'll do columns. Let's do columns. Let's put some columns out here. So, for columns, I have a combination of assets. First of all, let's lock the floor. This is going to go into scenery. Statues, which is inappropriately named sometimes. So I do have some columns in here somewhere. At least I did. Where are they? There they are. Let's have some nice ornate columns like that one. No, that's too high. Okay, let's have one of those. And then, as you notice, it's just a column, doesn't have a base. So what I like doing is taking one of these and making it the base. So this is obviously too big. So I'm going to tone that down a bit. That seems like a reasonably sized column. Let's make this about the same size. That works out. Desaturate them both. Bunk. So now they look kind of like a column. Now, one of my most anal things is that columns need to have shadows. But it's kind of a tricky thing because I can put a drop shadow on this, but no, it needs a nice long shadow. So here's what I do. I create a rectangle. That looks about the right size. Get rid of that. Put that. So that is the start of the texture, but it needs to add, I need to give it a little more character. So I do a fading gradient. That fades into nothing. Give that a little, whoops, nope. Gives that a little feather. And then make it a feathered edge. And then give it a transparent texture. Actually, that might be too, give it a little more. Okay. And then I rotate, whoops, nope. Rotate that, give it the anchor point there, rotate that, and then take these, just give them a very common drop shadow, collectively put them together, and there I have my column. Quick and dirty. And I can take this whole thing and put it anywhere I want. It's close enough. Okay, plain and simple. Nice and stylish. And then if I want to make smaller ones, then I can just take those, like if I want to put some of them up here, I can take the whole thing and it scales reasonably proportionally. So if I want to, some in there for some decor, and boom, there you have columns. By the way, we should save this. Excuse me. Save often is all I could say. Okay. So, what do we want to do now? Let's work on this room. This room was... I don't need this anymore. This room was originally a trap room of sorts with a watered floor. So what I thought, we can take the same... I don't know if this will fit. Let's group all the columns because this is actually a lot of objects. Okay. Well, actually, that works out. So this is the tomb of Lady Gwyneth Alara, the mother of the current ruler of Solus. Mother? Yes. And she drowned in a, well, presumably drowned. She was part of a incident on a ship. And one of the things that I wanted to do in this area is stylize it thematically to that. And if you'll see here, it was wrapped around a murky watered floor with a little raised lip. I'm not going to have the raised lip. So I thought, let's just fill the whole room with water. Sound good, eh? So let's do that. So I would like that it partially lead up to the steps. So let's lock that for now. Go to our floor. We first draw the area we want to fill with water. Don't worry about the texture for now. Actually, we do want to worry about the texture, but whoops. And then let's say, what, third step? Third step sounds good. Let's say that area is one we want to cut out. 240, and again, very precise about my coordinate placing. So we take those, modify, combine, punch, get rid of the edge stroke, and let's find some water textures. And water textures, oh, I definitely have lots. Like marble, there we go. There's some nice crystal clear water and some sewagey water. Let's do some sewagey water. And boom. Now, as you can tell, that is opaque. Let's give it a little bit of an angle to not seem so repetitive. And let's give it a little bit of oh, that's too much transparency. There. It seems like an awfully big room for that, doesn't it? Well, we'll put something else in it, I guess. It might be a... yeah, it seems alright. Or unless we want to put her on a raised platform. Do we want to do that? I'm tired of making steps, to be totally honest. Whatever. Okay. Let's put some doors in. How's that? Alright, let's put some doors in. Doors? Oh, I got doors. Doors. Lots and lots and lots of doors. Now, this is supposedly an old crypt, so you would assume that doors are not wood. Because wood isn't meant to last. Do we want them metallic or do we want them stone? Visually, I don't know if you can tell the difference. Let's go metallic. Reinforced. Yeah, okay. So those are a great big set of doors. So let's put a nice great big set of doors at the entrance. And let's put some... So now again, do the math. Put those down in there. Let's put those there. Again, I'm positioning precisely using the coordinate space. And now we grab all of them. Is that enough doors? Do we want to put doors here? Nah, we don't want to put doors there. And we give them a nice drop shadow. Now, since these doors are meant to be big, one thing I tend to do is increase the drop shadow. And then also double the drop shadow. Make the next one much more pronounced. Less visible. So that gives them a sense of size. And you gotta step it in a bit. There. Okay. I just noticed this has a dotted edge, which is probably a really bad idea. So, which is it? This one? Yes. So, let's give that a hard edge. Soft rounded. Let's go ahead and give that a drop shadow as well. Do we want to go... Let's go ahead and give it a path leading up to it. So let's do... Right now I'm just... Actually, I screwed that up. Damn it. Okay, we'll figure that out. Okay, so I'm actually giving it a little bit of a... You'll see what I'm doing in a second. That's the thing about fireworks, it doesn't let me go far off the edge. That's better. Okay. So let's give this a nice dirt look. Definitely not that one. Dirt. Do I have dirt? Let's go that one. This should be near the bottom, but not completely at the bottom. Let's get rid of the edge. Give it a nice big feather on the exterior. Maybe a little transparent. One thing I like to do rather than that is give it a little bit of a kick there and then make that transparent. It allows some of the greens of the underground to blend into it. And that's it. That's our entrance. You can screw with the Beziers a bit if you want. Okay, that's reasonable. Okay. I have no idea what I'm going to put in this room. What am I going? I'm approaching an hour, so let me go ahead and fill in this room. In this room, I want to use kind of the same thing we had here. I wonder if I can take this whole thing. Oh, that's a mask. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, well. All the work's done for me. That works out better than I thought. Of course, it's facing the wrong way. Okay, let's get rid of that. So this already has drop shadow. It is facing in the wrong direction. Let's fix that. Group that. Modify. Whoops, mask. Group as mask. Nope. And multiply. Wow, that's actually better than I thought. Let's... Do we want these columns? Oh, sorry. I think I do, but I think they're too far up. I want to put these right at the edge. That's a good spot. Okay. And let's go ahead and take these two crypts as well, because why the hell not? Don't resample. I don't know why it keeps asking me to resample. So let's just put them reasonably centered. I gotta adjust their drop shadow again because I rotated them. Oh, it actually worked out better than I thought. Okay. I think that's a reasonable start. Still got a lot to do. Gotta fill it in. I figured there'll be something here at the entrance. Just a general discussion here. Trap. Lord's Crypt. And this will be something leading into the sub-levels, which that takes care of this and this. Get rid of the rest. And then we can elaborate more on the second floor, which really, this is the only area that matters on the second floor. Everything else is kind of fluff. Oh, I just remembered. We'll have to, this area we will need to move to the second floor. So we can get to that. Oh, save. Save often. So I think this room might be too big. That's a big room. I'm gonna have to probably elaborate on it somehow. Anyway, I'm gonna call it a wrap for now. 2 viewers. Wow, that must be a new record for me. Anyway, I hope I'm doing this right. I hope you enjoyed the watch. I will do this more often, hopefully, and we'll continue to watch how this thing develops. Thank you for your interest, and I'll see you guys soon. And I'm out.